two lonely figures lie quiet, peaceful, serene.
So square and so serious and so cliche-ridden and so overdone.
Two such magnificent specimens of manhood. Why?
That it would be funny. That it would be so corny and so bad that it would be funny.
Welcome to Bat Lessons, the Batman History Show. I'm Brian.
I'm Alex.
And today we're talking about your favorite.
It's one of my favorites for sure, yeah.
Batman 66.
Yeah. What do you know about Batman 66?
I know I know some random trivia things here and there.
Have you ever watched it, I guess?
I've not ever watched an episode all the way through, but I've seen some notable clips.
Okay. I'm excited to watch an episode with you, which we'll do here later today. Maybe we'll make our kids watch it. I don't know if you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Okay. Up until now, a lot of the things that have been coinciding with the creation of characters are things that people may not be as familiar with. The Yellow Kid, or the Shadow, or Dick Tracy, or whatever. Like there is some social consciousness about it today, but not as much, especially for like people our age and younger. But when we get to television, for whatever reason, I think because of syndication, these things persist. Yeah. So it is very likely that even if people haven't watched Batman 66, there's other stuff that was on the air that they're familiar with. So other things that were on at the same time as Batman: Bewitched,
totally,
Hogan's Heroes, the Flintstones, the Addams Family, the Munsters, Beverly Hillbillies,
nice,
I Love Lucy, Bonanza, all kinds of classic television. I've watched all of these.
Very classic, yeah. I've seen
and
most of those.
Batman was competing with these in the rating. Yeah, in the ratings. Because back then, you'd have like 4 channels, maybe, 3, And so if you're going to watch something at like 6 o'clock on Tuesday, you got like two or three things to pick between. And like they're up against these. Yeah,
and they were competing for time slots.
100%. So for research for this, I have heavily referenced, just assume, I did, go to the forums. I did do all kinds of like reading things, but just assume that mostly I'm working from $1 Million Batman by Bruce Scavalli. This is an incredible book about basically the productification, I guess. It's not just Batman 66, but like when it comes to movies, when it comes to like, and they have just a great amount of stuff on Batman 66. I've said this about like every author I've referenced on the show. Would love to have Bruce on the show. He wrote this a long time ago.
Cool.
It was like 2008 or something like that. So he's probably not like, he's still writing books and things, but he's like moved on to other stuff. So he's probably not as interested.
Makes me feel old saying
2011.
That was a long time ago.
It is we're getting old. So huge shout out to that book. Just CYA. That's who I'm referencing for most of this.
That's good to me.
So how did the show come to be? How did Batman 66 become a thing? At some point in the early to mid 60s, ABC purchases the rights, the options to make a Batman TV show from national periodical publications. There's mixed accounts of how this happens. There's a legend, and this is the one that most people know, that Hugh Hefner had done showings of the 1940s serials, 1943, 1949 serials, at the Playboy Mansion. And that an ABC executive by the name of Yale Udoff, or Udoff, I don't know, Udoff, was in attendance of one of these showings and noticed how well it was received, and that's the reason that there's a show. And this is recounted as fact, I shit you not, without citation on the Batman 66 Wikipedia page. Not true. This is not what happened. As with most of these stories, there's a nugget of truth in there.
Sure.
Which is that in the early 1960s, Playboy was trying to grow its business beyond just like a magazine or whatever. And so they're doing all kinds of brick and mortar establishments. One is the Playboy Club, which is like a high-end nightclub. Think more like, you have to be a member and you're wearing tuxedos than like
Sure.
So traditional club.
Yeah.
And they also opened a Playboy movie theater.
Huh.
So that was the thing they were doing in the 1960s. And it's true that in the summer of 1965, they were screening the 1940s Batman serials, 43 and 49. And it was a big success for them. There's 23 years between 1965 and 1943. Yeah. So this is nostalgic.
I was just doing that math.
Yeah.
Like it was somewhat recent, but a little nostalgic.
Right.
Like the things that were in there that like made us cringe a lot probably weren't that cringy at that time.
Right. The young adult class of people that is going to clubs and is maybe into Playboy at this time, they grew up watching this. right? So it's nostalgic from their childhood.
Mm-hmm.
There's also an element which is that people knew that these were bad, like that the serials weren't good, and so they were kind of enjoying going and making fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
They experimented with showing it as it was originally intended, in like whatever it was, like 12 episodes or whatever,
Yeah.
And also as a marathon. And it was all, doesn't matter how they did it, it was always a big box office success. So Columbia, who produced the serials, and they owned the rights to the serials,
Sure.
Saw the financial success of that and started engaging other theaters beyond Playboy. So they were just like saying, hey, you want to do showings like this? And they started doing them nationally. So Cleveland, New Orleans, Kansas City, Louisville, Akron, Springfield, Tucson, Toledo, Fullerton, Denver, Dayton, Columbus, Madison, Santa Ana. These are all cities that Scavalli lists in the book
Wow.
that are doing showings of the 43 and 49.
Primarily
serials.
Midwest, though, it seems.
Yeah, I guess so. New Orleans is the South,
Sure.
you know? And that might just be what he's able to get, like,
Yeah.
newspaper clippings for or whatever.
Mhm.
He's finding ads. But suffice to say, it's happening somewhat across the country.
Yeah.
Columbia would also run ads. So this is one of the things, he's got clippings from the newspaper. And it would say things like, come to jeer, stay to cheer, right? So, like, the equivalent, I think, today is like the Fathom event stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you go to a movie theater and they've got the cardboard cutout and it's like, come see Studio Ghibli or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Or they're going to do like E.T. and the Goonies or whatever.
Yeah.
It's, they're just showing old movies for people.
Yeah.
At the theater. So, starts at a Playboy theater, not the Playboy Mansion.
Mhm.
Hugh Hefner probably not directly involved. This is just like whoever's running the business, right?
Mhm.
So already that's not really right. But also the timeline is totally fucked, like totally bunk. We know that Lorenzo Semple Jr., who was one of the writers on the original show,
Mhm.
has notes where he's writing scripts at the same time as these showings were happening. So the gears for Batman 66 were already turning.
Interesting.
So coinciding, but not causal.
Got it.
The reality is that DC, and more specifically Jack Leibowitz, who's one of the co-owners of National at the time, has been trying to make something happen for years. Since the introduction of the code
Mm-hmm.
in 1954,
Mhm.
Batman has just steadily had a sales decline.
Oof.
Right? So things that we've been talking about, like Bat-Mite and Ace the Bat-Hound,
Mhm.
or even Zur-En-Arr, the
Mhm.
sort of over-the-top stuff, they juice sales, and the general consensus is that they help, but like in the short term, right? These are things that are not like positive for the long-term health of the comic. So yeah, you're pulling people in with sensational ideas, sensational covers, but not a lot of depth there. People don't
Mhm.
stick around. You don't get
Mhm.
return readers out of that.
Sure.
So we'll talk more about how the comics react to the show
Okay.
in the future. Anyway, success in other media is seen as a way to boost visibility for the character.
Sure.
So, you make money off of the cross licensing,
Yeah.
but also like hopefully you sell more comics.
Yeah. It's like the Superman Day thing we talked about, or the
Yes.
Superhero Day
Yes.
where they had the parades
Yes.
and like the more eyes get to see
100%.
the thing. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's actually other
It's
precedent
marketing.
for it in TV.
Mhm.
So in the 1950s, there was a live action TV show called The Adventures of Superman. Adventures of Superman was a first run syndication show, which means that they didn't make it for a specific TV network. They made it with the explicit purpose of selling it to syndication. For,
Interesting.
yeah. To TV stations across the country. It was made by a company called RKO, which is really fascinating. If you have time, sometime look
Okay.
into them. I'm going to resist the urge to
Can
talk
you
about
at
RKO.
least tell us what RKO stands for?
Radio Keith Orpheum, as in Orpheum Theaters.
Okay.
Yep. Radio company, they had, popular running radio show of the same name. So they had made previously Adventures of Superman radio show, made it a TV show. Kellogg's was a sponsor for the TV show. So like they're selling like children's cereal. This is like some of the pop culture things I more identify with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being a child in the 1950s and 60s looks a lot closer to like the 1990s than
Sure.
stuff we've been talking about up until now.
Right.
It went 6 seasons and would have gone longer, except George Reeves, who played Superman, passed away unexpectedly, so they had to end the show.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the 1960s, when all of this is happening, it's a huge success in syndication, so it's still on the television. Big part of kids-oriented programming blocks. So like for us, it would have been like Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
They're slotting Adventures of Superman in there. Sure. That's the closest progenitor, but also in 1966, at the same time as the Batman TV show, there's also a Broadway musical for Superman. It's called It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then a cartoon also happened in 1966, which was The New Adventures of Superman. So they're really pushing into cross marketing, cross licensing, like, yeah, multimedia.
Do you know who did the animation for that?
I don't.
Okay.
I wish I did.
It just makes me because you're talking about the Flintstones,
Sure.
right? And like probably the Jetsons were on at the same time.
Yes, I don't think this would have been Hanna-Barbera.
But I know that Hanna-Barbera did do some DC stuff.
I've never seen it. I've seen the 1940s Fleischer Superman cartoons. I don't know if you've ever seen those.
I don't think I
those
have.
are incredible.
Okay.
I'll cut in like a little clip or something.
Okay.
So we actually know that in the early 1960s, so before the showings of the 40 serials, Batman had been optioned for a TV show by an advertising executive, a guy named Ed Graham. So this is just an individual. He's not associated with the company at the time. And he was trying to develop a live-action Batman TV show for CBS. He was trying to sell it to them.
Yeah.
That would have been for Saturday mornings. And he had a guy in mind. He had picked out an NFL linebacker, a guy named Mike Henry, to play Batman. I think that's hilarious. That's like that. And for whatever reason, the show didn't pan out. But Ed Graham eventually did end up as a producer for a television show called Tarzan that got 3 seasons.
Sure.
Starring Mark
my
Henry.
dad talks about. And then I wonder if it's the same the same show that he watched, because my dad talks about Tarzan being
It's got the
show he loved.
NFL linebacker.
Wow.
I think
it's interesting.
Like, I don't know why. Have you ever seen the Kevin Smith thing where he's talking about the guy who produced Wild Wild West?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't think so.
So the gist is, I'm going to butcher this.
Sure.
We can cut this from the episode.
Sure.
But the gist is that Kevin Smith is contracted to write a Superman movie. And this was before Superman Returns in 2004 or whatever.
Sure.
And one of the producers on the movie is like, you've got to have a gigantic friggin' spider. Like, that was his climax.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And it was like pitching him over and over and over again. And would like, he tells the story way better than I ever could. But eventually would go on to produce Wild Wild West.
Which has a gigantic spider at the end.
So it's like, this guy, yeah, he wanted to make a Batman show, but the most important part was that like he thought Mark Henry was a good actor.
Yeah.
I guess.
That's funny.
Yeah. I guess he thought he was photogenic.
But so you're saying CBS, that's still Columbia.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, but so Batman 66 isn't Columbia. Columbia would have been the
Well,
first
but you were
serials.
talking about
Yes.
the Columbia Pictures stuff that they were working on. So there's still there's that connection with Columbia.
I guess so, yeah. I hadn't thought of that. So Ed Graham's option for the show expires. And the director of daytime TV at ABC is a guy named Harv Bennett. And he advocates inside of ABC like, hey, I know the rights for this just came up because the show didn't pan out. And we should option the show. And then they do. Unfortunately, we don't really know any record from ABC about the option, how they decided to do it, other than this guy, Harv Bennett, said that it was his idea. So, like, grain of salt with that, even too. Yeah. Like, who knows? But what we do know is that in 1965, the VP of program development at ABC approaches a guy named William Dozier to produce the show. Okay. Often called Bill Dozier. Bill Dozier show runs Batman 66. He's an interesting guy. When you dig into interviews and statements, I think he actually grew to have quite a lot of affection for Batman eventually. It's easily his single most famous work. But on surface level, you definitely get the vibe that he kind of has a lot of disdain for the character and for Batman and for like comics in general. He thinks it's slop, right? You could go even further and say that this guy kind of has a disdain for people. Yeah.
Okay.
He wrote an editorial in July of 1967 for the Los Angeles Times where he said, quote, "It is fashionable these days to say television underestimates the taste of American audience. Nonsense. Time and again, it has been proven the taste of the great majority is pretty low. Given two competing programs, they will invariably watch the bang-up Western or the broad comedy and tune out of the show which attempts something better. During my several years' tenure as head of production at Screen Gems, one of the series we produced was Dennis the Menace, hardly an intellectual milestone. Nor was it intended to be. It was on the air for 4 seasons, and the night it achieved its highest Nielsen ratings in 4 seasons was the night it was opposite of the first half hour of Macbeth. That was George Schaefer's memorable production with Judith Anderson and Maurice Evans, which deserved and won several Emmys. Brilliant as it was, it drove so millions of viewers to Dennis the Menace for the first time and possibly the last. So much for the public appetite for so-called quality television."
Got it. That's really funny. It reminds me of firstly, he's a snob.
Oh, yeah.
And it reminds me of Edward Bernays. You know who that is?
I don't.
He's the guy who, Mad Men is based off of him. This idea that he was like, oh yeah, all these feckless people out there, we throw the right pictures at them and then they give us money.
Yes.
To buy whatever.
Cut from the same cloth.
Yeah. I think he once said reading was a great thing for the masses because it enabled people to buy products, to read ads.
Yes. Yeah. So Bill Dozier did a bunch of interviews where he's basically on the record saying that television exists for the ads, right? That his job is actually just merchandising. The sort of statements that are like, plainly true, also reductive. Self-effacing too. He's like a little embarrassed. He has this anecdote that he tells where he's flying home from the trip where ABC tells him that they want him to make this show.
So I bought about a dozen of them, and it took a bit of doing to get some of the older ones, and they cost $3, $4 a piece. And I took them on the plane with me and flew back to Hollywood. And I was sitting in an aisle seat doing my homework with 5 or 6 copies in my lap and reading one, not thinking how this would look to somebody. And sure enough, a friend of mine in the ad agency business in New York who was on the same flight tapped me on the shoulder, and he said, well, I guess those scripts do get dull after a while. And I couldn't tell him why I had a lap full of comic books, because it was a big secret, this approaching series.
And he's on the airplane with comic books, and he's embarrassed because people can see him reading comic books, right? Like he very much thinks he's better than all this.
Yeah.
And I think this is a good opportunity for a little tangent away from Dozier for just a second, and away from the production of the show to think that's really important to understand, which is the cultural climate that leads to the show. And I think this is a good segue.
Okay.
Dozier's sort of looking down his nose at it, but that's kind of part of an exercise that the whole country is going through at the time. We've talked about it before, but after World War II, America's wealth takes off.
Mm-hmm.
The whole world switches to the US dollar for trade. It's the global reserve currency. We're using footholds that we have after the World War to like export industry and culture, which is bringing us in all kinds of money. We're sending GIs to college, which has an immense economic upside, right? Like our productivity goes up because everyone's getting educated.
Mm-hmm.
From the New Deal onward, the top marginal tax rate actually kept increasing. So at the 1960s, we're like almost at the peak. The top marginal tax rate in the late 1950s was like 90%. One of the things that's important to understand about the marginal tax rate, right, is that in the 1950s, there were way fewer tax shelters, right? So everything was income, right? For example, 401ks don't exist, IRAs don't exist. Those are 70s and 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Stock buybacks at this time are illegal. Companies can't do stock buybacks. The only way to return profits to a shareholder from a company is dividends, and dividends were taxed as ordinary income. There's no such thing as a qualified dividend back then. So the only way you could get money out was to pay income tax on it. I think there was a 5% rebate on income tax at that point.
Wow.
And that applies to your marginal rate. Mm-hmm. So at this time, income inequality is at the lowest it's ever been in the country's history, before or after, right? So those lines we talked about in the 1800s where people are making the least.
Yeah.
1950s, they're the closest. Suburbia's popping off like crazy. Things that had historically been signs of great wealth, like a freestanding single-family home and a lawn, are within reach for huge portions of the population. Most people are doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this like socioeconomic class collapse where the haves have always counted themselves as better than the have-nots, right? And how do they process that being less true than ever, right? It's like, you go to a cocktail party and you're there with someone who did not grow up the same way you did, right? Yeah. But like now they went to college and they got a good job and they're doing just as well as you were.
Yeah.
Even though they didn't go to like an Ivy League school.
Yeah.
And like, this like messes with people's brains.
Yeah.
And so are you familiar with pop art?
Pop art. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So like Andy Warhol.
Yeah.
Do you want to describe like what your idea of that is? Or like I can if you want.
I mean, pop art is, it uses a lot of things that are common for everyone. There's like the soup can.
Yes,
like,
the Campbell Soup's painting is the famous one.
And then there's like the Marilyn Monroe with the different colors and stuff. And it's probably what I would see in a lot of like graffiti or tattoos today.
Sure. Are
the types of stuff that they made pop art out of before.
Yeah.
It's simple but flashy, very colorful, but not overly highbrow. You weren't seeing people study the brush strokes on pop art and stuff like that.
It's this thing that's mirroring what's happening in society, which is the elevation of the normal, right, to the high.
Yeah.
Right. So you have this can of Campbell Soup, which is like very of the people.
Yeah.
But if the people are now a part of the intelligentsia, if the people are now a part of the erudite class, right? Then the mundane is now so as well, right? So that there's this art movement where people are processing it. Camp. Do you know what camp is, or camp humor?
Like campy?
Yeah.
Oh, man, how do you describe that? Is stuff that's like
I can if you
it's
want
kind
to.
of like ironic dad humor, kind of campy.
Sure. Yeah. It's the idea that something is so bad it's good.
Okay.
Sharknado.
Yeah.
Birdemic.
A lot of people say that about like the 90s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Sure.
Yeah.
But there are certain things that are intentionally trying to do it and things that are not.
Yeah.
So 90s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles probably not trying to do it.
Yeah.
Sharknado definitely trying to be bad.
Or like 66 Batman.
We'll get there.
I'm picking up what you're putting down now.
So Susan Sontag, famous author, wrote kind of the definitive essay on camp. And she says, quote, "Camp taste is a kind of love for human nature. It relishes rather than judges the little triumphs and awkward intensities of character. Camp taste identifies with what it is enjoying. People who share this sensibility are not laughing at the thing they label as camp. They are enjoying it. Camp is a tender feeling."
So you come to jeer and you stay to cheer.
100%,
right?
yes. The etymology of camp is actually an adjective that goes back to the early 1900s, where it was slang for gay in the UK. And Sontag wrote about this too. Quote, "Homosexuals, by and large, constitute the vanguard, the most articulate audience of camp." Right? So there's...
Oh, okay. So like Rocky Horror Picture Show and stuff like
100%,
that. Okay.
100%. There's like liking something, but in an ironic way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting.
So another essayist that Scavalli references is a guy named Thomas Meehan, who would write, quote, "Camp not only involves finding fun and delight in things that others find banal, boring, worthless, or hopelessly out of date, but also involves a certain amount of parody, especially unconscious parody. And what is colloquially known around New York as, quote, the put-on, anarchic, anti-establishment, and often infuriatingly perverse, camp is frivolous about serious things and serious about frivolous things." I think pop art and camp both are part of the permission structure for that high class group of people, the erudite, to consume the same culture that everyone else does. It's the rationalization that says it's okay to enjoy TV, even if it's becoming a more of a product instead of an art.
Okay.
So Dozier's pissed that like you used to consume products, we consumed art.
Yeah.
Now we're all swimming in the same pool.
Yeah.
And so it's the way that the nation is sort of like wrapping its head around this cultural moment and this economic moment.
Yeah.
So put yourself in that mindset.
Yeah.
While we talk about Magic
that's really
66.
interesting. Well, it makes me think of like Shakespeare and how there, like the way it was written was for the highbrow people in the balcony who could afford nice seats to appreciate, while still like making all these like kind of I don't know, references to the common people who had to stand in the crowd below and the play between those. And now essentially it sounds like what you're saying is we're getting to this time of technology where televisions are new and so they're expensive, but more people can afford them than could before.
Yes.
And so what used to be like highbrow art is now very commonplace. And so you're bringing some stuff down and you're raising some stuff up to come together. It's really interesting.
Yes. And like you're less able to discern than ever before. Like, we talked about this a little bit with the Christmas Carol, right? Where Dickens was writing a book and then some other author was basically rewriting it and selling it for cheaper. And so like people, they were like not reading Dickens because Dickens was too highbrow for them, but they were consuming his stories through this filter of like distillation.
Yeah.
That is now no longer happening because we're all drinking from the same well. Right?
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting cultural moment.
So everything is the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes. And there's people who are lamenting like we're all stupider now.
Yeah, interesting.
Which is funny in the age of smartphones.
I know.
Right? TikTok, brain rot, or whatever. Yeah, Batman 66 could not be more emblematic of this moment if it tried. In an interview with CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Company, Dozier would say, quote,
So then after a day or so, the fairly obvious idea, it seems obvious now at least, to make it so square and so serious and so cliche-ridden and so overdone, and yet do it with a certain elegance and style that it would be funny, that it would be so corny and so bad that it would be funny. That appealed to me, and I then began to enjoy it, and I began to enjoy working on it, and I got a writer who shared this belief with me, a young man named
Lorenzo Semple Jr., who wrote many of the episodes, including the pilot, which is the one we'll watch today, is often cited as the co-creator of the show, told Scavalli for the book. He did an interview with him. Quote, Bill Dozier and I had seen millionaire Bruce Wayne and his Bat regalia as a classy comedy, hopefully appealing to kids as an absurdly jolly action piece and to grown-ups for its deadpan satire.
Mm-hmm.
Entirely non-fraught with psychological issues. There's a million other things we could talk about. Sorry,
Yeah.
you want to say something?
Well, no, like I'm eating this up in a really big way because I have thought a long time. I'm a very large like music connoisseur amongst other things, but I've thought many times about how the things from like the '60s have had incredible staying power.
Sure.
Right, and like you're talking about the way they're designing this TV show to be the right kind of campy, and how it has had incredible staying power as well. Like you're saying that a lot of the research you did was on web forums for people who are still fanatics.
Into it. Yes, absolutely.
And it's like more than 60 years later, and it's still relevant in a kind of a strange way.
It is.
You know, and there's so many things from that time that have done this. And to think about how, like, kind of in a strange way, it was like designed to do that, and also thinking about the difference between then and now. Of like a few minutes ago, you were talking about, but before recording, you were talking about video games and how like everyone's into touchscreens now, and they're not into the classic stuff.
Yeah, I'm like trying to get my son to have a Game Boy before he gets too hooked on like iPad or whatever, so he knows how to use one. You know?
And so this question I like to ask people is like, there are many bands that made music in the 60s that today we still listen to. You hear on the radio, they had staying power. Who's making music today that we're going to still hear in 60 years? And it's tough. It's a tough list. You know,
do you want the good answer or the one I'm like salty about? Because it's probably like Maroon 5 or something like that.
I mean, I think probably Coldplay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which is like, I'm not a huge fan of either of those things.
Sure. But I mean, it's complicated, and just to think about how like society has changed, what was available then versus now. They only had 4 channels then. Now we have like an unlimited amount of channels, and it's on demand because of streaming and stuff. Yeah, and the cultural shifts that have occurred, and all the thought that went into this show and other shows around this time, that gave it this kind of staying power is really, really interesting.
Yeah. No, 100%. I'm really interested to see what you think of it. We could spend a lot more time talking about like casting, shooting, but I think since you've never seen it, we've done enough table setting. Like I don't want to talk too much more about it. I think it's better if we just watch the show and then have a short debrief after. So let's just watch the first episode and then
let's do it. Yeah, sounds awesome.
Cool. Batman 66. What do you think?
It was fun.
Yeah?
Yeah, super fun.
Yeah?
Yeah. I get the whole, like, come cheer, stay to cheer thing.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, there was a lot of moments where I was laughing. I mean, we had our kids there, so, like, I wasn't pointing out the things I wanted to, but it is very similar to when we read the comics together, and it's, like, it's enjoyable, but it's also, like, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. You got to suspend your disbelief, though. Like, you can't analyze it.
They did a Blu-ray release a few years ago, so that's what we were watching.
Okay.
And when that happened, I say a few years ago. This was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I watched a bunch of it. I don't think I watched quite all of it, but I probably watched 2 seasons worth. And going back and starting at the pilot again, I don't know if it's just because I didn't pay close enough attention last time, or if the pilot is actually different. It is almost more serious. Like we were talking about whether like our 5-year-olds should watch it or not, and my wife was like, "Is there going to be like guns?" And I was like, "I don't think there's gonna be a lot of guns or anything." And like, not only was there, although they didn't shoot at anybody, someone dies in it, and I was like, "Whoa." I don't know if I would have chosen that for my 5-year-old.
Wow, we didn't see anyone die.
No.
Rich, Molly.
I can't. I'm too scared. I'm slipping. Oh, Batman!
Disappear, and there's a lot of smoke.
Yeah. But then he talked about like, I don't know, he like lamented her death.
He said,
"Poor, deluded girl. If only she'd have let me save her. What a terrible way to go.
Yeah, because the club that they had been in was a
It's a Go-Go Club.
yeah. Well,
Mhm.
it also had a punny name. That was something.
Oh, I don't remember that. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna Google it because people are gonna. What a way to go.
What a way to go.
No, that's what he said. That's wrong. AI
Okay.
answers. Come on. Oh no, that's the name of the discotheque too, according to the TV database wiki. So it's not just go. It's the
It's
club was
like-
called What a Way to Go.
Wow.
And then when she died, he said, "What a way to go."
What a terrible way to go.
That's so funny. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So they did a lot of like literal comic style stuff.
Mhm.
They had the narration.
You think Gotham City is a peaceful city? Ho, ho, ho! Put your gum under your seats, hold your breath, and get ready to cheer Batman and hiss his diabolical enemies.
Fun fact: that's Bill Dozier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Also embarrassed about that in interviews and things when people are like bringing up the fact that
There's one performer we haven't mentioned, a by no means minor contributor to the total effect. I'm referring to the off-screen narrator, who remains anonymous.
No,
Why
he
is
has
that?
a name. He has a name. We call him Desmond Doomsday when we have to tell his name.
Is there a particular reason for concealing his actual identity?
Yes, because it's kind of an avocation. As you know, you're putting me on now. You're writing a Batman script. I do the narration, and I kind of backed into this. We started to do a promotional reel for the network so they could have something to show advertisers before the show went on the air. And we were putting together a few scenes from the first film, and we needed narration to plug the gaps in it. So I did it. Then when we ran that for the network officials, they quickly said, "Who's that narrator? Have we got him signed for the series?" And I said, "No, I don't think we can get him for the series." I strung them along for a few minutes, but then I was stuck, so I had to do it. So I had to join the guild then, too.
he was the narrator. He's like, wasn't me. Could be. You know.
Aw.
They had onomatopoeias that they drew on the screen.
Yeah.
Biff, boom, pow, bam.
Wow, go whack.
Color was very new. So a lot of TV shows on the air at the time were still black and white. This was one of the first all-color television shows. Costuming's over the top. The labels on everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought that was very funny.
Yes.
When they had the fireman pole
The bat
things.
poles, yeah.
The bat poles, and one said Dick and one said
Bruce.
Yeah. And I had two thoughts. One is if anyone ever opens that door, well, immediately we know who
Yes.
is Batman and Robin because their names are
Sure.
right there. And then
Well,
second,
it is to be fair, it is inside Bruce Wayne's home.
that's true, but like no question available,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
And then second is what happens if they grab the wrong pole?
Who knows? They always start at the top of the pole. They're not in the costume. They get at the bottom and they're in their costume.
I know. It's
Yeah.
like Dick gets to the bottom. He's in this like
Doesn't fit.
Yeah, it doesn't fit. And then you've got Bruce, who's like, oh my god.
I also just thought that, like, it's funny enough that everything is labeled, like including things I don't know if you noticed on his belt.
Oh, I didn't notice
They
that.
had like bat hook or like bat.
I did see the
bat
batarang
laser
thing.
or batarang.
Yeah, I did see
labeled.
that. Yeah.
But then they, beyond just the ridiculous nature of that, they have these gags with it. Like there's one part where Robin is getting ready to leave the car and he doesn't want it. He thinks it might get stolen, and so there's a button that's like, what is it? It's not like self-destruct. What does it say? I can't remember. It's like an alarm button or something.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
And then he
it's
flips
like security button or something like that.
he
yeah.
flips a sign over the top of it, and the label changes to, start button.
Yeah.
Or push to start.
Yeah.
And the Riddler comes and pushes it, and then it goes off. It's like setting off fireworks.
Yeah, that's right. I thought that was really funny
It's
when
freaking
the
hilarious.
Riddler was like, I'm gonna steal this car. He jumps in, he's like, how do I start this? Start button.
Yeah. So it's like not the labels aren't just for us. They're like gags in the world too.
But they reference, I feel like that's like a direct reference to the comics though, because the
Sure.
comics had labels like that all over the place.
Yeah.
It was like a grocery store and like.
Well, yeah, but like a lot of times, especially like one of the first times the Batcave appeared in the comics, it shows up with a bunch of labels.
Mhm.
but I always read that as for us, right? That was not, those labels aren't literally in the world. It's like, oh, we're supposed to think it's really cool that, he has a way to take off the airplane from inside the tunnel. And it's like, aircraft tunnel inside his Batcave or whatever.
I do think like comedically, like it's very tongue in cheek to be like, no, they really are there.
Sure.
This is a guy who loves a label maker.
Yes, 100%. And label makers probably a lot more of a pain in the ass back then.
Yeah,
so.
for sure.
What did you think of the Alfred?
He was fine. He didn't seem very smart.
Sure.
Yeah, that was the thing that kind of bugged me. And it probably is like a decent reference to the comic.
Sure.
When we first met Alfred, but they were like, Bruce, so and so, your cousin or whoever it was, is worried you've been gone for too long. And Bruce is like, well, tell her that we're staying the night. He's like, oh, good thinking, Bruce. And then he goes and tells her, and it's like, not really that good thinking, but it's good that you got your story straight.
Yeah. Aunt Harriet.
Aunt. Okay.
Well, I don't know if the person that they were worried about was Aunt Harriet or not. I think they described it as...
I thought it was, but I don't remember right. I think it was the family member that was there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Aunt Harriet, recurring character on the show.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Aunt Harriet?
No.
Does appear in the comics a little bit, most prominent in the television show.
Okay.
Speculation is generally that post-Wortham, she's there to tamp down on the, the homoerotic undertones.
The homophobia.
I don't know how the presence of a woman in the home fixes that somehow, but
they're not alone a lot, I guess.
I don't know. But her job is to be in the mansion and be aloof.
Cool.
That's all she does on the show. Batman, Bruce, what did you think?
It was fine. Yeah, they did have a bunch of moments that I thought were pretty funny about where he gets like a call from the bat phone or whatever, and he's there as like a billionaire meeting with other rich people, presumably some business deal or something. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, gentlemen, I have to leave. I forgot that I was going to take my ward fishing.
That's the excuse. They're going on fishing trips. Yeah, that's what they tell everybody.
It just seems so maybe of the time.
Absolutely not.
To be like, goodbye on this business thing. Fishing.
I forgot I had a prior engagement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it just was funny.
No, it's supposed to be stupid.
Yeah.
Burt Ward as Dick Grayson, Robin.
Did not sell me that he was very young.
No, dude's like 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked older than that.
Golly gee willikers, but he's short and he's boyish face for sure.
But also he looked like he was a mechanic or something.
Sure.
Like he had wrinkles.
Sure.
For 22. You know what I mean? Like, not to say that he was
they're
like
all
decrepit
like smoking a pack a day, right?
Yes.
So everyone is like, Gorshin looks ancient and he's not.
Yes, for sure. That was the thing that kept coming up is like these things that are of the time, like the riddle. There's 3 men on a boat with 4 cigarettes.
Yeah.
How do they smoke them? And I was like, man, today you wouldn't reference cigarettes like that, but back then, like even the doctors are
super
smoking.
Normal. Yeah.
You know,
threw the cigarette off, made one lighter.
Yeah, made it 1 cigarette lighter. Yeah.
I
also thought it was funny that Dick, he solved almost every riddle.
Yeah, no, that's kind of he's supposed to be super smart.
Yeah. Even though like Batman is supposed, like traditionally we think of Batman as like the greatest detective.
Yeah.
It was Robin that was solving all the riddles.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny.
Speaking of like him not being sufficiently boyish or young, apparently the CBS executives perennially, like throughout the show, were appalled at his bulge.
Oh.
And so they kept like trying to come up with new ways to like tuck and like do compression shorts and stuff. And apparently, and this might not be true, but supposedly at one point they came to him and they're like, "Here, take this pill," and he was like, "No, thank you."
I'm glad. That's crazy.
Yeah. Don't want him to have junk in the trunk or junk in the frunk.
And then yeah, it's this reminds me of like a kids show. I mean, it is a kids show, but it's like extreme in that like Calvin, my 5-year-old watches this show called Dino Ranch. It's really good. Highly recommend. But it's like dinosaurs, these kids, it's problem solving. None of them have fear of getting hurt. None of them have fear that a dinosaur is going to eat them.
Sure.
Their fear is that it will like roar really loud or
Yeah.
be unhappy or something or like wreak havoc.
Sure.
And so like almost like the intro shot is like a cake that explodes, like is a bomb. It explodes. And nobody gets hurt. It's just like, oh, that was loud. And then like this message falls out in a parachute. And they just kind of had that thing over and over again. Like they showed guns, but then like a police person with the gun in his hand is like trying to open up this letter, you know, and it's like that's like really dangerous if that's a gun. And then like the Riddler, he was like, this isn't a gun, and he like points it right at Batman's face and pulls the trigger, and it's a lighter. But like, had it been a gun, end of Batman right there. And it's just there were like layers on that I thought was like it was very, very childish in the way that no one ever need to worry about someone getting hurt. Well, unless you fall into a nuclear reactor. I mean,
yes, yeah. I think it's hilarious that there's a nuclear reactor that's in the cave that somehow powers the Batmobile.
Yes.
How does that work?
I thought that was funny too.
Wireless power? Maybe it charges it somehow?
Yeah.
But there's a jet engine on the back.
Yep.
Speaking of childish things, the MacGuffin. You pointed this out when we were watching. The thing that he's trying to steal at the end of the show. It's the mammoth of Moldova.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they make this whole thing about like, oh, good thing we saved this mammoth of Moldova, and it's okay, and the guy had made this big deal about how like it's this like thousands of year old like pristine thing that was like filled with stamps or something.
Yeah, so the gist is that what's actually valuable is not the mammoth; it's this collectible stamps that are on the inside.
It's a piñata, right?
Full of old stamps.
Yeah, and
that's what the Riddler's after.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I mean, it's like stealing the crown jewels to sell them as the crown jewels.
Yeah.
Like, no, you sell them to melt them down.
Yeah.
You get the gold and the diamonds and stuff. So it was, it doesn't work.
Stupid.
But then at the end, like,
also, like, how could stamps possibly be worth
that much money?
That much money, yeah.
Especially at that quantity.
A literal woolly mammoth full of stamps.
Yeah. And if you watch closely, there's a huge gaping hole, like a person-sized hole in the side of it
at the end, like
by
confetti.
the end of the fight. Yeah.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
So Aunt Harriet is a character that they've elevated. People speculate, if not created for the show, although she does appear in the comics first. But like, Alfred appearing, in the comics first, but he was made for the movie. They flesh out the police officers too. So there's Commissioner Gordon.
Yes.
He's I don't know. Do you have thoughts about Gordon first?
I mean, there's not a lot to have thought. He barely shows up in those first.
He shows up in every single episode of the show, so you get to know him more as time goes on.
Okay.
I love the way he talks. He's like Bill Dozier, like doing the narration. He's very. I don't know. He has a presence and talks with purpose and matter of fact.
Right?
Yeah, very much. And then Chief O'Hara. I don't know if you caught him. He's the other. So here's the thing. If you watch the show more, you'll find. But he's the number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so Gordon has to have someone to bounce off of. So they go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And Chief O'Hara is like very, I think he's supposed to be Irish, but he's kind of got an accent. Like.
Yeah. No, I did think it was funny how they read the message came down. They opened it up and it said, "Why is an orange like a bell?"
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, gosh, I don't know. This is a tough one. And then they both like look over at the red telephone. They're like, I don't understand what this guy does, but we sure need him. And then Batman shows up and Robin is like, they both peel.
Yeah.
Which how does a bell peel? I don't think I understand that.
It's a oldie timey verb for ringing.
Okay.
The peal of the bell.
Got it. And
you would never say that today. I don't even know if he was said in the 60s.
Okay. Yeah. And so a good example. They were at the same time like, it's so stupid. How did we not come up with that?
Yeah.
Which I was thinking like, I never want to come up with that.
Sure.
But apparently it's an extremely antiquated phrase. But
that happens all the time in the show though, right? Like that's one that like theoretically you could actually get. It's like a true riddle. There's things all the time. Like there were riddles on the show where it's like, oh, it's referencing the name of like some random bank.
Yeah.
Or some politician or some like, it's something that they made up to satisfy the riddle. There's no way you could have ever gotten it. It's not a real riddle.
Yeah.
Right?
Here's the second one. What president of the United States wore the biggest hat? It's easy, Batman. The one with the biggest head.
Of course.
Don't you see what they mean? Biggest head. That's gotta be the famous skyscraper head office of the Gotham City National Bank. The Riddler's gonna go inside and cart the loot outside.
Nice listening, Robin.
Aw, gee, it was nothing, Batman.
They're just jumping to conclusions, and you're supposed to observe, Batman is smart.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not supposed to feel smart. That's not the point.
Mm-hmm.
But
that was my acknowledgement that yes, there were those two guys
Yes.
that were bouncing off
O'Hara
each other.
and Gordon.
Mhm.
Riddler. Frank Gorshin as Riddler.
Actually, that was really fun.
He's great.
He and like the way he like giggle cackled.
Mhm,
He was obviously like pretty insane.
Sure.
But very expressive.
Mhm.
Even with a mask on, very expressive.
Yeah.
And,
He
yeah,
recurs
props.
throughout the series.
I'd read that he is replaced and then he comes back. So there's a different
That
Riddler
happens.
in season 2.
Yeah. Okay.
But 1
Good
and
to
3,
know.
it's the same guy.
I loved the costume changes.
Yeah.
He starts with the suit with
Uh-huh.
the black question marks all over it.
With no mask.
Uh-huh.
And I think that was part of that setup. That he
Sure.
was like, no, I'm not a crime fighter
legit.
right now.
Right,
I'm a
right.
man.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
a
yeah.
dude. Businessman.
Later, he's in like a cat suit kind of
Mhm.
thing with the trunks. you
Yeah,
know,
he's
it's all
got like
green.
it's like a I don't know, it's like a full body leotard. It's like a
Yes.
skin tight thing
With a
huge
singular-
question mark.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And then like psychedelic like suit at the end. It's like pinks and greens
Which-
and purples.
Honestly, it makes me wonder how directly they were ripping in Batman Forever because
Oh,
he's
sure.
got the skin tight with all the
100%.
question marks, and
Well-
then he's got the light up jacket where he's like,
Yeah.
it keeps me safe while jogging at night.
Yeah.
And was that supposed to be like a direct reference
might
to
be.
that?
Well, because so here's the thing. We actually spoke about this on a previous episode
Uh-huh.
of Bat Lessons. Is Riddler is not a prominent character.
Yes, you talked about
Right.
that.
So like
Mhm.
Catwoman, Joker, a bunch of the other ones that show up on the show. We've talked about it in the Golden Age. Like Riddler appears like 72 times or something like that, and Catwoman appears like 42 times. Riddler's like 6 or 5.
Yeah.
Like he's not an important character. But Bill Dozier read a comic with Riddler in it, and so now it's an important part of the TV show.
Mhm.
Because it's an important part of the TV show. Now it's an important part of the pantheon. Like we think it's important because
The show.
yeah, and 100%. Schumacher, when he's making his movies, is the Batman he knows is Batman 66.
Oh yeah, I read a whole bunch
Yeah.
for the episode that I keep talking about doing and not doing.
You're gonna host at some point.
Yeah, at
someday,
some point.
a few years from now.
And that guy didn't know very much about Batman, and so
Well,
it makes a
neither
lot
did
of
Bill
sense.
Dozier.
Makes a lot of sense that he just like watched the show and was like, "This is enough."
Yeah. Any other thoughts on characters or anything like that?
The window grate was very funny to me.
Yeah.
They cut open this like big grate on the window to like get in, and Robin picks it up, which I mean, it would be extremely like 200 plus pounds
Yeah.
heavy, and Robin, this young
Clearly
boy,
made
is
out of
like
foam.
gonna throw it,
Yeah.
and Batman's like, "Wait,
Watch it, chump. Pedestrian safety.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
pedestrian safety,"
yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, right."
Yeah.
Batman hangs a little hook on the wall, and then he
With like
gives
a
it
suction cup.
Yeah, and then Batman picks it up, also hundreds of pounds.
Yeah,
you know,
hangs
just
it.
kind of hangs it
Yeah.
up, and it's like
They-
for safety.
They
you know.
do that multiple times on this episode. There's at one point where like they're gonna go into the club, but Dick's underage. They can't.
Yes.
It's the law, Robin.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
know, or like it very much Batman is a Boy Scout, and they're always talking about following rules.
Do you think that there was any part of that was
It's for the children.
it was like rebellious to be like, this is that comics code thing,
No.
so we're doing it over the top?
No, legitimately, this is just like this is how you engendered.
Okay.
I think.
Ah,
I think it's supposed to be a little bit funny because it's over the top,
Mhm.
but also I think like legitimately this is how people thought about like teaching kids things.
Yeah, I mean, like I think that I recognize that in other shows.
Sure.
Of like, it is the law.
Yes.
You know. However,
Yeah.
immediately after that, Batman leaves and Robin drives the car
Sure.
forward to park it. Which
Maybe he's 16.
maybe
We don't know. They don't say
we don't
that.
know.
So let's talk a little bit about how the show was received, unless you have other thoughts about the This episode in particular, because we're gonna move back to like general high level.
Oh, I was just gonna say I wrote a bunch of quotes because I thought it was funny the ways that they described things. So like he talked about his drink being doped.
Yes.
And how like it seemed pretty obvious that like Batman's in this situation as Batman in this way to go.
Mm-hmm. He's been roofied.
And he goes up to the bar and he says, "I'll have an orange juice," which is very funny.
It is hilarious,
right?
yeah.
And so he takes his orange juice and the guy's like, "Special made for Batman." And like, if anyone said that to me and I was Batman, I'd be like, "I'm not drinking this."
Sure.
Right? It's like maybe they spit in it at minimum.
Yeah.
Right? And then he proceeds to guzzle a glass of orange juice.
Yes.
And then after like just a really short amount of time, he starts to get really woozy. He's like, "My drink, doped."
Yeah.
And then he falls over, and it's super funny.
That whole
like,
sequence
the language.
is famous, by the way. Like, there's lots of parts of it that are ridiculous. Like, he walks in, everyone's crowding around him.
Yeah.
They're like, the waitress is like, and like the women are supposed to be fawning over him. The
And
dude
he
comes
dances.
up.
Yeah.
Well, first the dude comes up and says, like, "Do you want a special table?" And he says, "No, I need to keep a low profile. Someone could be at the bar, right?"
Yeah.
And then it's what's her name? Madeline, whatever.
whatever.
It's the henchwoman. Wants to dance with him. He does the dance. They call it the Batusi, right? Supposedly, I don't know how much of this is true or whatever. But that takes the world by storm. Like the Batusi, big deal. That's a thing.
Wow. I mean, I've seen that clip before.
Sure. Well, so going to perception a little bit. This pops off a huge splash for general audiences right off the bat. Super unusual for TV at the time, right? Normally, you'd build an audience over time, right? Part of the reason that this happens is because the marketing that ABC did. It was a mid-season replacement, which is kind of like a new concept at the time. So back in the day, they would order a season of a show and it would go for the whole season. And so if there was new shows, they were all happening at the same time. Like in the fall, I don't know, like let's say everything starting in September. And then you were stuck with those shows until, spring. And you would never, ever get a new TV any other time. So the idea that this was happening like in the middle of the season, super novel, right? So like if you're bored with everything that's on the air, you're going to tune into that. And they ran crazy ad campaigns around it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it also is because it was just like the vibe was different than a lot of the other stuff that was happening. And part of it is just because like America loved it. Like for whatever reason, this was huge. Like they debuted at like I think number 3 or number 4 overall.
Wow.
Yeah.
Debuted at number 3.
Yeah, yes.
Wow.
And they like the ratings were up like for the first like 3 or 4 episodes, and then gradually down the rest of the time. So like it made a huge splash. Tons of people watched like this episode.
Yeah.
And the next few. And then it gradually lost popularity. And in fact, by the end of season 1, it was pretty unpopular.
Oh, that's a bummer.
But like they rushed out a movie. So between season 1 and season 2, there was a feature-length film.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Oh.
we can watch it sometime.
Yeah.
With Adam West and Burt
Yeah.
Ward and Batmania. There was tons of merchandising, which was also kind of somewhat novel, right?
Yeah.
So like people are buying like Bat this and Bat that, and like people were into it for like a hot second. So it's like it is not uncommon for there to be like a fad where there's like a song and that it's the song of the summer or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like so there was a moment where everyone was really into Batman, and then they all moved on. It was not a long moment, but it was a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Suffice to say, though, that for people who fashioned themselves Batman fans before the introduction of the show, they did not enjoy this. It was typically received as laughing at Batman rather than laughing with Batman.
I can see that, sure.
Yeah. So if you're reading the comics, you're pissed, right? And you're coming to school, the other kids at the playground. Did you see that show? It's so funny. And you're like, I read these comics. They're not funny.
I can really understand that.
Yeah.
Because like I remember watching Spaceballs when I was young.
Sure.
And like just not thinking it was funny.
Really?
Because they were making fun of Star Wars, and
That's
I love
hilarious.
Star Wars. Now
When I
I
was
get
a kid,
it.
I loved both.
I understand parody.
Sure.
Like back then, I couldn't take a joke.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I get that.
And like I think Austin Powers is another thing like that, where it's like, as an adult, I think it's super funny. But when I was younger, I didn't really understand that it made fun of James Bond. But I
Sure.
remember some people not liking it, not because it was vulgar, but because it was like attacking James Bond, which there was like sacred
Yeah.
to them. And so like I get where that's coming from. I would say I'm more mature now, and I don't necessarily agree with that point of view, but I understand it.
What do you think Bob Kane thought about it?
I made money. He loved it.
Bob Kane in particular was in for a rude awakening.
Oh.
Somehow Scavalli, the guy who wrote Billion Dollar Batman, got a hold of a bunch of letter correspondence between Bob Kane and Bill Dozier. In his first letter, sent when he heard that the show was going into production, before he knew anything about the show, quote, "It seems Batman has caught his second wind and is, quote, red hot now. Judging from the many articles and unsolicited tributes being paid to us this year, I am sure that it will burn up the TV tubes when my cult of Batman fans tune in. I really feel this is breaking at the most opportune time." He closed the letter, Bat's wishes.
Yeah, so then when the fans didn't like it, he got it.
Yeah, later, Kane heard, so he hadn't read the script, hadn't seen the show, but he heard that the pilot episode was going to have the Riddler as the villain. He wrote Dozier in dismay. Quote, "The Joker is by far the better known villain to my fans, and is my fans. I love that he keeps calling them my fans.
Yeah.
And is truly the arch enemy of Batman, such as Dr. Moriarty to his Sherlock. In fact, the Joker was the one who created the riddles for Batman to solve. In a sense, he was the original Riddler, and to my thinking is the wildest and most bizarre looking villain of them all. I can picture him in color, with chalk white face, green hair, and blood red lips. A combination to chill the most ardent mystery lovers. I can only hope that you use him in future scripts." Later still, Kane would get to read the pilot before the show came out. And he wrote Dozier again. Quote, "I read the shooting script for the pilot, and although it is not the mysterious and grim Batman that I have lived with these years, I realize that your version is an updated camp style that is in keeping with today's TV market, a la James Bond and Uncle. And that if I were to produce it today, I would do very much the way you are handling the concept, tongue-in-cheek, along with the pop art feeling. The only suggestion I would make is perhaps a combination of a bit of the old mysterious along with the new camp style. That is to say, that when the opportunity in the script affords itself, have a giant shadow silhouette of the Batman cast upon a building or room, preceding Batman's entrance. I have done this quite a bit in the comic strip, and is quite effective in establishing an eerie mood, especially with appropriate mysterious music for accompaniment. In keeping with a mysterious mood, Batman could bring his cape up around his face when lurking in the shadows."
That's really funny. How much can I influence the script?
Yeah, he was like, I think to your point, like, yes, he likes making money.
Yeah.
It made him famous. He loves being famous.
Yeah.
Glory hound that he was. But it's interesting to me that even at that time, he kind of did identify more with the traditional Batman, because he's been out of the picture for almost 20 years at this point. Like he was involved with Batman for like the first like 8 years, you know, and then he's not really working on it.
Yeah.
And so for him to come in, yeah, he has rights, right? Like, so he's going to get a piece of the pie, but it's almost parental, right? He really wants it to be a certain thing, and it's not going to be that.
Yeah, I think the funny thing is, it's kind of, we were talking about CEOs earlier, and so like there is like an element of this where it's like, okay, so I've like let this thing go, and other people are taking care of it, and I just get to hang out and make money.
Yeah.
But if I see something that like makes me worry that that's gonna falter,
sure,
I'm going to see what I can do to step in. Mm-hmm. And since he is the creator or co-creator, he has a different like element of control, or his voice is louder than other voices.
Well, I mean, they didn't listen to him.
Well, sure, but they did read it. They read the letter.
Yeah, presumably, yes.
And I don't know. And I mean, the Joker did become bigger later.
I think he's like literally the second episode arc. It's very soon. He comes. Yeah, but.
So yeah, I don't know.
But they never do anything eerie or mysterious, or you know, like it is not. Yeah, no creepy, no lurking in the shadows. That doesn't happen.
But this does actually make me think differently about James Bond, because I have watched the early James Bond movies and been like, man, some of these are like rough.
Sure.
And now that I get that, like they were supposed to be kind of campy.
I mean, a little bit.
It's like, okay,
not the same way Batman is meant to be campy.
Sure.
Yes.
But there's some elements. It's like, oh, maybe I can be a little more forgiving about how they set this up, because it was of the time.
It was of the vibe. Yeah.
Not just like of the filming quality, but like they actually were going for kind of cheesy.
And I think it's both, right? Like we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but like that goes hand in hand. Like if you're only capable of so much from a filmmaking perspective, it's easier to lampshade the fact that this has to be a little ridiculous
Mhm.
because we don't have the special effect capability, or we don't have the you have to make the movie for the mass audience,
Mhm.
right? So that's all my notes.
I saw something that I thought was interesting, which is 120 episodes.
Yes. Yep.
It held the record for the longest running live action superhero television series until it was surpassed by Smallville.
Yeah, I was going to
in
say
2007.
CW. Yeah,
Mhm.
that makes sense. Yeah, for sure. We're going to watch more episodes. I can't wait to talk more about it.
Yeah.
Although comics more first. I've promised episodes. I have Google Docs with like some notes in them on first appearance of Riddler, first appearance of Mr. Freeze. We're going to do Red Hood. So we've got more comics to come.
Mhm.
But we'll be doing Batman 66 episodes for sure. Like there are characters who are created for the show that I love, like King Tut, right? And so we'll watch some of those episodes and walk through all the major villains and things.
So if you remember, when Steve Shives was on the show, he talked about one of his favorite issues from his recollection being when they were abducted by aliens.
Yeah, captured by aliens. They were in a cage.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got to do that one.
You want to do that?
Yeah, I think that's like it is. We did a quick flip through when he talked about it, and it's ridiculous. And I think it's the right kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. The thing is, I often try to choose stories that have some like backstory history associated with it.
Might be surprised. I don't know.
I'll maybe there's an artist we haven't talked about, or
maybe it's some NASA related thing.
We'll figure it out.
I don't know, space.
Yeah,
I'm curious.
Yeah, lots of good stuff to come. I hesitate to promise that we're going to get back to monthly anytime soon, but I want to eventually. We're going to on ramp back.
We do have the other channel.
We do, yes. So that is something to plug. We haven't talked about it on this channel very much.
Mm-hmm.
We are doing monthly episodes about Absolute Batman. So if you're into current comics, head on over to the Bat Lessons Book Club.
Yep.
Link in the description.
Yep.
And we've been loving doing that. I can't wait to. I want to do a year-end retrospective episode coming up. Maybe we'll do like one of those collab things so it shows up on both channels or whatever. It's actually been over a year now, but the final issue of the second arc, Abomination, comes out this Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good time. Like once we're done with the two major like story arcs, we'll do like a retrospective episode about like how we've liked it so far. And so if you're into that sort of thing, go take a look on the other channel.
I'll say I'm a pretty passive Batman fan. Like I watch the movies and stuff like that. I have not really read the comics. And it's pretty interesting to see how they're doing like a modern take on like redoing Batman, where like some things are the same and some things are different, and how they're kind of like balancing all this stuff. There's a lot of really interesting things going on in there.
If you're not into current comics, this is absolutely the type of storyline to jump in on, because it's not tying into anything.
Yes.
It's self-contained. There's only like it's been going on for over a year at this point, but there's only 13 issues, right? Like it's so there's not a ton of backstory you need to read it on.
Very accessible.
And it's a new take on everything, and so give it a shot.
Hey, Bat Fam, hope you like the show. If you do, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. Stickers. We got stickers. It's a great way to support the show. Just $5. Link in the description and on batlessons.com. To keep the Batman history train going, watch this video next.